Welcome to another episode of the FWOT Show on the Coil Entertainment Network, the Happy Hour Network, VillageConnectionRadio.com, iTunes, the Google Play Store, and indeed the entirety of the Internet. I'm Rob Steele, that's Jesus Jones in the background, and this is the show that lets you know that it's not just you. The world really has lost its collective mind, as evidenced by the last election we had here in these wonderful United States. And I just figured out how everything went so horribly wrong. It kind of makes sense if you stop to think about it, but we've been going constantly with the constant stream of, oh good Lord, what did Trump do this time? But I figured it out. You see, the election is kind of a competition, where the votes are the points. Whoever has the most points wins the game. That's the way most competitions work, right? I mean, in the last World Series, the Chicago Cubs won more games than the Cleveland Indians, therefore the Cubs win the series. Finally, and Chicago can shut up. More about them later in the show. New England got more points than Atlanta in the last Super Bowl, therefore the Patriots win. I get that. But what is Trump's favorite competition? That's right, golf. Which, by the way, is not a sport. Sport involves more than just whacking and walking, which is all golf is. And even that sounds a bit perverse, but I digress. In golf, the person with the lowest score wins. Trump had about 3 million fewer votes than Hillary. Therefore, by his logic, he wins the election. Now, I'm taking this as further proof that golf is, in fact, ruining this country. Of course, Trump isn't helping either, because, you see, I have another segment I'm creating for the show, unlike the mustache news, of which there is surprisingly none this week. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say surprisingly? I meant no. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. This time I think we can actually have a regular segment called The Lie of the Week. And that kind of goes with golf, because lie is a golf term, and lie is something Trump does, actually, I think, even more frequently than golfing. And, of course, it's Donald Trump who brings us the lie of the week. He was recently talking about the speech he made to the Boy Scouts. You remember that one a couple weeks ago where everyone said, oh, he said hell in it. And apparently that was an issue. You know what? Just get over that part. The rest of the speech was just wacko nuts. Boy Scouts need to build a wall and look at all these black people. Get the black people. And wow, really? That's where you went with the speech to the Boy Scouts? Well, Donald Trump was talking about it and said he received a phone call from the chief scout executive who said that was the greatest speech that was ever made to the Boy Scouts. Interestingly enough, the Boy Scouts have released a statement that said, "What phone call? We never said that." And, oh God, he's making things up again. Anthony Scaramouche was supposed to be the replacement for Sean Spicer. And I was going to give him a little time to settle in before I started poking fun at him. Because there were immediately several things where you look at him and go, boy, he's just mimicking Donald Trump in the movements and everything. And you know what? I didn't have time to actually write any jokes about the poor bastard because 10 days into his job, 10 days, first day I ever heard of him was July 21st. When he was hired to replace Sean Spicer. July 31st, he's gone. Now, something I don't think a lot of people caught on to, his official start date for this job is August 15th. So 16 days before he officially starts the job, he's fired from the job. And this is already being listed as the best possible way to avoid being part of a Saturday Night Live sketch. Okay, you tell me, why is he's gone that quick? Leading to another spectacular quote. Donald Trump wants to build a several 100-mile-long wall, but he can't even seem to put a cabinet together. Seriously? Although, that may not be the worst part of what happened to Anthony Scaramucci, because shortly before he was released from his position, the Harvard Law Directory came out, and Anthony Scaramucci was listed in it as dead. Well, he's not dead. He just lost his job. Next several stories kind of worry me a little bit, because some of them, just little news bits. Like there was news out of Jordan this week. Not Michael, the basketball player, the country of Jordan. They had a law that would allow a rapist to not have to go to prison if he married the person he raped. That is a terrifying law that thankfully was repealed this week. It just worries me that it ever existed in the first place. Thankfully, no one will have to worry about that anymore. But something another community will have to worry about is the pharmacy deficiency, which is a metabolic disorder that causes several severe mental defects and epileptic seizures, and that is a major health crisis in this small fundamentalist moron town. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. I'm sorry. This small fundamentalist Mormon town where they're practicing polygamy. Now, the problem with practicing polygamy the way they're doing it is one man impregnates the entire town for his lifetime. No other men are allowed to procreate, just the one, until he dies, and then they choose another one to procreate with the entire town. Folks, that's inbreeding. And that's a good case of how polygamy doesn't work. There are better ways of doing it. That's not one of them. Although in lighter news, let's go back across the sea to Norway, where there's a far-right group who really had a problem with a bus. The problem they had is one of these far-right people got on a bus and noticed, oh, look at all those women wearing burqas. There's too many Muslims on this bus. I've got to get off the bus. And he got off the bus, but not before he took a picture, and he sent it out on Twitter. All of his far-right wacko friends jumped on the bus in this case, not that one, and said, look at all these Muslims. They're taking over our town. Oh no, horrible, horrible. Until somebody said, dude, those aren't Muslims in burqas. That's a pattern on the seats of the bus. That's right. Racism against bus seats. I am frankly astounded by this, in that it didn't happen in the States. Although I suspect it's coming soon. Stay tuned. And back in the States, we have something very interesting from the Coshocton County Sheriff, where they discovered a body recently near Mohawk Dam that is approximately 900 years old. And it's very well preserved, and the part of it that amuses me is that the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation didn't let the Coshocton County coroner handle it. They sent it to a neighboring county, the Licking County coroner, to examine the body. The way it was phrased, though, in the article from ABC News, didn't make it entirely clear that Licking County is actually the name of a county. I read it initially as the Licking County Coroner, which in my head sent me to the following place. Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to figure out how old these bones are?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
This week was Shark Week on the Discovery Channel, and the Discovery Channel would have you believe that millions are killed every year by sharks. Because sharks, dangerous predators of the oceans. Except, the number of people killed globally by sharks last year is, you ready? 4. Not 4 million, not 4,000, not even 40, 4. Dangerous predators. But while we're talking TV, this past August 1st, MTV turned 36 years old. So this weekend, we should celebrate the 10 magnificent years of music they gave us.
Video killed the radio star. Video killed the radio star.
Let's do a bit of tech news. There's a company called Red who makes some spectacular cameras, like the ones you've seen used in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or The Martian, or the Transformers. It's a great camera, and they've branched out and created something called the Red Hydrogen, which is their first cell phone, which has, of course, a magnificent camera on it. It runs the Android operating system. It costs $1,600. So, spectacular phone. Not quite sure about this pricing plan they've got. Similar to something that Microsoft put out this week, that being the Windows 10 backpack. That's right, a backpack. They've put a rather impressive i7 processor computer in a backpack that hooks to VR goggles that can be worn by people, let's say, working a crane on a construction site. And using the computer and external cameras, they can more accurately pick things up with the crane. Oh, see? It's actually kind of a cool idea. The problem is the VR backpack is going to end up costing around $3,300. You know what? With as much as we see construction people having to underbid everyone, I can't see this being used anytime soon. And if our government has anything to say about it, the best antivirus software on the market today wouldn't be used by anybody either. That being Kaspersky Antivirus, which has been at the top of the list of antivirus programs for about 15 years now. Unfortunately, a U.S. congressional panel asked the Kaspersky Labs to share all of their information about activities in the United States. Oh, did I mention Kaspersky was run out of Moscow? Yeah, even they said, you know what, we don't keep track of that kind of thing. No, you can't have it. We don't give our information to countries that we may or may not be getting along with. Which brings us pretty much full circle to this last tech story. Amazon recently suspended sales of something called the Blue phone, as opposed to the red one at the beginning of this. See, it's a circle. The Blue company, Blue, no E, was using their phones to collect data from the people who had bought the phones and send it to servers in China. That's right, China. Against everyone's will, provided they knew about it, and most likely, they didn't. But here's something I can tell you about, so you know. The FWOT Show website was recently redesigned. It now includes articles and videos, and there are two that you need to go see. The first of the new videos on the FWOTShow.com comes from Kentucky, where retired Colonel Amy McGrath is running for senator. Now, you need to watch this video even if you don't live in Kentucky, because I want this entire country to get behind this woman, because she is awesome. Watch the video. It's on the website. Something else that's on there that is really cool, not as awesome as her running for Senate in Kentucky against the will of Mitch McConnell. See, just on that, you should love her anyway. The other video I added this morning is actually a Kickstarter program, but it is tech news. See, I'm still looping the tech news thing into this. It's for something called AmaBrush, which is the world's first completely automatic toothbrush. Basically, it's a mouthpiece. Think of what you see boxers and fighters wear. That kind of a mouthpiece. It'll cost you $6 every 6 months. That includes toothpaste. You put it in your mouth, it brushes all your teeth all at once in 10 seconds, and you're done. That's kind of a cool concept. Head to the website, thefwotshow.com, and check that out. weird sports story, because I mentioned I was going to bring the Chicago Cubs back up. The Chicago Cubs just got their World Series rings. Finally, after 5 million years of not winning the World Series. But they announced this past Monday they're going to make a special World Series ring for a fan who most Cub fans hate. Back in 2003, there was a guy named Steve Bartman who screwed up the Cubs' chance to even get to the World Series by reaching for a foul ball that Moises Alou was going to catch, causing the third out in the inning, making the Cubs go on to the World Series, but Bartman got in the way and has been pretty much exiled from the city of Chicago. But the Cubs, in a show of absolute coolness, made him a World Series ring. And if the Cubs can forgive Bartman, everyone should be able to forgive just about anything, really. Except probably some of this crap that Trump is doing. Of course, if you agree with that or disagree with that, send me an email with all your comments about the show. Email address rob@thefwotshow.com, or you can go to the aforementioned website, thefwotshow.com, and click on the buttons for Facebook and Twitter. Follow the show on both. Send me messages that way. You can also subscribe to the show on iTunes or to the Google Play Store. Either way, it's a great way to get the show quickly and easily. You can also click on the button to go to the FWOT shop, pick up a hat or a t-shirt, or even a coffee mug. Support the show, because who doesn't need support these days? And of course, we'd like to thank Jesus Jones for playing a spectacular theme that is in the background at the moment. And now I'm going to leave you with, yes, it is a regular segment now, the quote of the week, but I'm adding a retort to it. The quote of the week I'm going to say is, Christianity is like chicken pox. If you have it, you can give it to others. The retort is, chicken pox is given involuntarily, and there is a vaccine for it. And what does this mean about shingles then, huh? That painful, itchy rash that I keep hearing 1 in 3 Americans will get in their lifetime? Well, perhaps, I thought, shingles are the politicians who claim to be doing things in the name of Christianity that there isn't anything in the Bible about that particular subject, like marijuana or gay